And skip the regular line at the airport and pay for speedy security. Imagine not having to quickly unpack and pack at the place you already came packed to. And wearing your shoes the whole time you're there? You can't put a price on that kind of luxury. Well, actually you can, and you paid for it. Switch to Progressive and you could save big time. For speedy security. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, not available in all.
Hey, Cudahy to all my friends and relatives in 4 directions. This is Robert Pilot of Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake. I'm here to ask you for your support. Finding honest Native-centered news is not easy. But with your support, we're able to provide accurate information about Standing Rock, Line 3, treaty violations, and COVID-19 in our Native communities. Please visit Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon and donate if you can. That's Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon. Pinigigi, and thank you for your support.
Your heart beats for generations.
Your heart is so many things. It beats all the time, and it works very hard to keep you moving through your day, keeping your thoughts clear. It's the most important organ in your body.
Every beat of your heart tells a story of love, resilience, and hope. Taking care of your heart means creating more moments with the ones you cherish. Learn more at hennepin.us/heart-beats. That's hennepin.us/heart-beats.
The city of Minneapolis is now on Native Roots Radio with Minneapolis AIR. AIR stands for American Indian Relations. Guest host Christine McDonald talks to people about important things affecting the city's Native communities. Minneapolis AIR dives into topics like public safety, public health, elections, and so much more. Tune in to Minneapolis AIR on Native Roots Radio from 5 to 6 p.m. on the second Wednesday of every month, right here on AM 950. What does it mean to begin? Creation Story explores Native origin stories through powerful contemporary art, connecting past and present with every brushstroke in sculpture. Explore how identity, culture, and resilience are shaped through art. Creation Story, now at All My Relations Arts through July 26th. This exhibition invites you to the heart of the Ochate-Shikowin storytelling, where spiritual relatives guide the way. Open to all. Learn more at allmyrelationsarts.org. Experience the beginning. Experience Creation Story at All My Relations Arts in Minneapolis.
Rudy Luther Toyota has a great way for you to purchase your next vehicle. It's the Toyota Smart Path. You can shop at the dealership or on your couch. Shop smarter by saving time, and remember, they'll have the best prices and no surprises. You can browse the available vehicles, use the Smart Path payment estimator to customize your own payments, apply for financing, and then finalize your purchase. Smart Path is the smartest path to your new vehicle. Check it out online at rudyluthertoyota.com or stop by Rudy Luther Toyota, 5 miles west of Minneapolis on 394.
With a look at your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Tonight, clear with a low of 65, then Wednesday, sunshine with a high of 83. Cafe Latte is unlike any restaurant you've ever experienced. Grab a tray and pick from their award-winning selections of soups, salads, sandwiches, and mouth-watering desserts. Cafe Latte, Victoria Street and Grand Avenue in St. Paul, or cafelatte.com.
Portions of Native Roots Radio may be pre-recorded.
It's a good day to be indigenous.
Get up, stand up.
They are going to become more brutal.
Because all the hippies are trying to be Indians anyway.
They're going to become more repressive because it's a matter of dollars and their illusionary concepts of power.
Hey, Victor.
We must live in balance with the earth.
And also with recent happenings that wounded me.
I am awake. Welcome to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Wakanja Hade. Hey, Cudahy to all my friends and relatives in 4 directions. You are listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Robert Pilot. Hey, we discuss local, national, Native news and events, and as you know, Native issues are human issues, and human issues are Native issues.
That's right, Roger. This portion of the show is supported by Native Roots Trading Posts. Shop now at cause-cart.shop and search Native Roots to find your resist gear. Pinigigi to everybody supporting.
Yeah, definitely. Hey, we have Arvina Martin on of Emerge, Wisconsin, and so it'll be an all Ho-Chunk show today, and we're always really happy to have Arvina on and chew the fat and talk about what's happening locally. And of course, you know, we're on civic media all across Wisconsin, and it's great to have the Wisconsin update from Arvina. even though we don't like the Packers, Jalisa.
I have to say, yep, Vikings fan here.
Exactly. On that note, we see Arvina is in the bullpen. Let's bring her up right away because we have a lot to talk about. Welcome, Arvina Martin, Emerge, Wisconsin. Hoa.
And Packer shareholder.
Oh, good to know. I have to say, Arvina, I have a lot of respect, though, because I actually went to Lambeau Field and watched the Vikings-Packers game, and we did win. But I also have a lot of respect for Lambeau Field and the organization.
Yeah. It was the first thing I did with my per cap when I turned 18.
I love it.
So the rest of it went to college.
Nice.
Well, I went to the Packer Field last year too for the first time, and was really impressed.
Yeah.
We were in a suite, and really impressed with what was happening. I miss outdoor football big time. I was brought up at the old Met where we loved seeing those old California teams come in, December and January, and we beat them up bad.
Yeah, the first Packer game so when I was a kid, the Packers used to play preseason games at one preseason game at Camp Randall, the stadium in Madison for the University of Wisconsin. And we would go to that preseason game, and Packer tickets are notoriously hard to get a hold of. I didn't put my daughter on the season ticket holder list when she was born. So at 16, she's, probably if she were to get on the list now, she probably wouldn't ever make it to the top of the list. But the first game that I actually saw at Lambeau Field was a December game against the Bears, and it was cold. It was snowing. It was just smash mouth football. It was really fun. I had a blast, even though my toes were frozen.
Oh, fun.
So I have a question for you, Arvina. Do you hate the Bears more than the Vikings, or the Vikings more than the Bears, or is it an equal thing?
It's kind of an equal thing, although I have to, I kind of feel like the Bears have been so hapless and have just, struggled so much that I'm making a face that I almost have some pity for them. So maybe I dislike them a little less, but it's only because the Vikings are more competitive.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah. That was fun. And it was really fun too. I posted a picture of Paul Molitor, and he's an old Cretan boy here a few blocks from my house. And I went to high school with Joe Mauer's mom, and and Jack Morris only went to Highland, which is right in, a stone's throw away from me. And of course, Dave Winfield went to the same high school I did. So we have these connections. But I took a selfie with Paul Molitor when I was at Target Field, and you're a big Paul Molitor fan.
I loved Paul Molitor when I was a kid. I definitely had a crush because he was so good. And the 80s were a rough time to be a Wisconsin sports fan. Excepting the 82 World Series that the Brewers went to. I was only 2 years old then, so I don't remember that myself, but I remember being, apparently during a softball game or a t-ball game, that we lost by tons, asked my dad, what does it feel like to win? And his little heart just broke because, a Packer fan, Badger fan, Brewer fan, just nobody was any good at the time. And so, and even when the Packers kind of start looking like we're having, a downward turn, I'm like, I remember the 80s. This isn't as bad as the 80s, so I think of it as a kind of I guess I'm not sure what I'm thinking of it as, but it's I can handle like a season or two of sucking, as opposed to 10 years.
Yeah.
Share peanut
Oh,
butter.
geez. I
Wisconsin
remember.
and Minnesota.
Well, I'm at that age where I caught the last end of Lombardi, and then the kind of the upswing of the Vikings for the next 4 Super Bowls that they lost, and so I was 17 or when the Vikings were in their last Super Bowl. But I got to say this is a trivia question. Who was the last NFL champion? And
Is that the
so that
same
was the
as
Vikings in 1969.
Mm-hmm.
pre-Super
And then
Bowl?
the
Yep.
leagues merged. And then the leagues merged.
Yep.
Gotcha.
That's all we got.
They probably
Yeah.
didn't make the same kind of flashy rings for them back then either.
Right.
No, and it's funny too. The last Super Bowl the Vikings were on, again the halftime, and that was 78. The halftime presentation was the marching band still.
Yeah, I didn't realize until maybe this year that was kind of the standard Super Bowl halftime show until they did the In Living Color halftime show on Fox, and they said everybody change the channel, we'll tell you when you can change it back to the game, and they did a live like halftime show. The year after that was when Michael Jackson came on.
Wow.
And he stood there for like 5 minutes, like completely motionless and silent, and everybody was just screaming their heads off. And that's how we got the modern day Super Bowl halftime shows, which brought us the amazing Kendrick Lamar this year.
Yes, that was phenomenal. Speaking of Kendrick, I did this show here too. And I gotta say, my experiences as a little girl, I fell in love with Randy Moss and Chris Carter. So that's my background. And then to have them kind of coming back and Justin Jefferson beating all of Randy Moss's records is so cool.
I admit I did not care for Randy Moss.
It was a little wild.
Yes, I was not a fan, but as we've both gotten older, I appreciate him. I'm glad that he beat cancer. So hooray, and we're really glad to hear that.
Yes, absolutely.
So, Arvina, were you old enough to remember the game at Lambeau Field where Randy pretended to moon everybody?
Yeah, I remember that.
And I heard that's because all of the Packers fans would do that to their bus.
That's so
I
funny.
don't know.
I also remember the catch that Antonio Freeman made my senior year of college, watching in Hanover, New Hampshire, with all of my football loving friends. They're saying, we want to watch it with Arvina. And I lost my mind when it hit his shoulder. He flipped over and ran it for a touchdown. One of my favorite sports moments.
Yay, I love it.
Hey, this is Native Roots Radio, and it's a whole chunk day here on Native Roots Radio, and we'll be back with Arvina Martin and Jalisa McKee. And I'm your host, Robert Pilot.
That's right. Stay with us.
Four Sisters Farmers Market is more than a place to shop for delicious organic food. It's a celebration of Indigenous culture, food sovereignty, and community. Now in its 11th season, the market offers healthy, affordable, culturally appropriate local foods every Thursday from 11 to 3. Located on the American Indian Cultural Corridor off Franklin Avenue, Four Sisters Farmers Market is a project of NAGD. Every Thursday now through October, discover more about Four Sisters Farmers Market by visiting nagd.org.
Minnesotans age 65 plus might qualify for Health Partners Minnesota Senior Health Options. The easy all-in-one plan includes personal support, coverage for medical, prescription drugs, and dental, plus many extra benefits. Eligibility information is available at healthpartners.com/oneplan. Health Partners is a health plan that contracts with both Medicare and the Minnesota Medical Assistance Medicaid program to provide benefits of both programs to enrollees. Enrollment in Health Partners depends on contract renewal.
Your heart beats for generations. Take care of it.
There's a lot that we can do to take care of ourselves. And so I think it's important to take the smaller steps and break it down into more manageable pieces, because the little steps leads to big changes.
Every beat of your heart tells a story of love, resilience, and hope. For Indigenous women, taking care of your heart means creating more moments with the ones you cherish. Let's protect that story. Learn more at hennepin.us/heart-beats.
I'll never forget. I was driving my Sienna from Rudy Luther Toyota, and I was hit at 35 miles an hour, rear-ended square flush. If not for the structural integrity of my Sienna, I wouldn't be here right now. There's a lot I can say about Rudy Luther Toyota, about their fantastic service department and their great selection, but being able to say your car saved my life is the best endorsement I can make. Toyotas from Rudy Luther Toyota are my highest recommendation. Get one today and tell them me, Matt McNeil, told you to stop on in. Rudy Luther Toyota, 394 and 19 in Golden Valley.
Hi, this is Representative Sharice Davids from Kansas. I'm Ho Chunk, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio.
And we're back. Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
Hey, this portion of the show is supported by Native American Community Clinic on Franklin Avenue in Minneapolis, honoring health and tradition.
Yes, I do. Hey, we are here with our friend Arvina Martin, CEO of Emerge Wisconsin, and co-host Jalisa McKee here holding down the, I wanted to say holding down the fort, but isn't it funny to hear all these old terms that really are really questionable, Arvina?
Yeah. I mean, that's not one that I would think of. And then all of a sudden when you were going to say it, then I was like, wait, the fort, do we really want to hang out there? Hold it down rather than tear it down from within?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. Well, speaking of tearing it down within, we're going to talk a little bit of politics here. And I know this came up yesterday, but I want to talk about Ann Coulter for a moment.
Oh, Lord. I mean, she is trying to bring herself back into the public eye. You know, she's kind of faded away. There's all of these, MAGA and Trump affiliated folks like Laura Loomer and others who are, getting the attention that I'm sure Ann Coulter wants. And she, is so callous to try to get that attention back by spouting inflammatory language and very hurtful things about Native people. And, she is just a terrible human being, and we now, because of her, have to deal with more people who think it's cool or edgy to say stuff like we should kill more Indians or we should have killed more Indians. And it's absolutely disgusting. But it's also absolutely predictable that she would say something so outlandish and so just completely, asinine and horrible. Like, think of any negative adjective, you can put any of those on her statement. And it's just, she can go back and sit in her, probably gated community with security, and we have to deal with folks that listen to things like that and think of them as directives, not as just some spouting off. And unfortunately, with the rise of political violence coming from folks from the right, it's not without potential consequences, and it's really dangerous to start saying things like that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I just wanted to get your input on that. It's just, I think a lot of Native leaders across Turtle Island have commented on it, and it's just par for the course. And we talk a lot about this on Native Roots Radio, where Native Americans really are the holders of the word resist, because we've been resisting for 500 years and we're kind of the experts. And this isn't anything new coming down the line, but it's also a little upsetting. I want to switch to another subject here, Arvina and Jalisa, And that's I thought MacArthur Park, the song MacArthur Park, was not a real place until a couple days ago.
Was it melting? Were there cakes?
Yeah, exactly. And they left it out in the rain. But
Yes.
I just got to give props to the mayor of Los Angeles.
Oh, I didn't hear about what happened with MacArthur
Well,
Park.
ICE yesterday in MacArthur Park, which I didn't know was a real thing, ICE came in there with tanks, soldiers, and Fox News was there with cameras so they could really film this and promote this. And there was just kids playing soccer. And
Oh my
they
God.
just put on this big performance thing and left, and it was a joke. But the mayor was there saying, "I want you out of here." And so,
I mean, it's
Mayor Bass
intimidation.
shows up and as the federal agents raid MacArthur Park and demands to speak to the official in charge and gets them out of there. So that was my kind of joke with MacArthur Park, is that she came down there and showed some leadership.
Yeah, I mean, and that is the shows the importance of paying attention to down ballot races. While things at the top of the ticket did not go our way, or the way that we had hoped, we still, have resistance in the forms of our state legislatures and state, our governors, our attorneys general, of our mayors and city councils, county boards, school boards. They're all able to be part of this resistance, and that the actions of Mayor Karen Bass definitely show that there. People coming, the military, presumably coming in with artillery, with tanks to intimidate Americans is decidedly un-American. And it's kind of, one lesson that you can take from that is that we need to pay attention to those elections up and down the ballot, local as hard as we do presidential, because our leaders at the local or state level might be the ones that are the ones that can stand in the way of a lot of this, even if it's just procedurally, even if they're slowing things down. That's important resistance, and an important part of our movement. So don't sleep on local elections, everybody. I mean, and we can say that for tribal governments as well. Our president, John Greendeer, when ICE raids were starting to pop up, he stepped in and was like, we are going to get real IDs as our tribal IDs, so that these are things that law enforcement can't ignore. And so leadership at every level is so important to this, in order to keep us from being steamrolled.
Yeah, I agree. And John's a heck of a leader, and I can kind of talk about this now a little bit, now that I'm not a legislator for Ho Chunk Nation, but being a former legislator this past 4 years, John is a great leader. And I wanted to say one thing. I'd been into Wisconsin, and we talked and joked in the beginning about Wisconsin, but I want to say I've been in Wisconsin more often than in many years. And I just got to give a big shout out to your governor for stopping a lot of crazy stuff. And that's what you're kind of talking about, Arvina.
Yeah, absolutely. And even to the extent of, previously he would do veto, he could veto things within a budget, or that you can get creative and cut out words, and everything to kind of change the meaning of that. And he's done that for good purposes, to get more money to schools, to get more money to the people that need it. And for perpetuity. I believe that one of the edits that he made funding, set into legislation for like 1,000 years. Because he
I remember that, and that was awesome because when you were talking about that at first, I'm going, yeah, what was that? But that's what it was. He switched a couple words, and the Republicans voted for it because they weren't paying attention.
They were not happy that, I'm pretty sure that went to the state Supreme Court. It went through, that it was okay. It remains a tool of resistance. And again, helps us be able to not just protect our people, but protect our values, and be able to live those values.
Well, we only got like a minute here left, and I would like to go back and just ask you about how did the governor and the Supreme Court, or maybe it was the Supreme Court, start working on the gerrymandering that's been happening in Wisconsin? And I know it's going to be better here in the next few years, but if we could remind our listeners that and remind me too, I'd like to go back to that and how that happened on the next segment, Arvina.
Okay, yeah, let's talk gerrymandering.
Yeah, and it's funny too. Saw our Supreme Court justice got sworn in, and I'm telling you, Tricia Zunker should have won that seat, and she did so well in that heavily gerrymandered area. But that's another discussion. But it just made me think when I saw her being sworn in as one of our Supreme Court members that she did such a great job.
Absolutely.
Hey, this is Native Roots Radio. We're getting into All Ho Chunk Day. We'll be right back after this short break.
Stay with us.
The place for live music is the Park Tavern. Park Tavern has delicious food and great bowling, and now the Park Tavern's dog-friendly patio is open and waiting for you. And make sure you catch the live music on the patio. On Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday nights from 5:30 to 8 p.m., live music awaits you with the Park Tavern's full menu available. Reservations for groups of 8 or more are recommended. And the Park Tavern offers private and semi-private spaces for small and large groups with no room fees and no minimum spending requirements. On Louisiana Avenue, north of Highway 7 in St. Louis Park, live music and outdoor fun are back at the Park Tavern.
Hey, it's Patrick for Zero Res. The month of July is National Carpet Cleaning Month, and because of that, Zero Res is offering a purchase of 3 rooms of carpet cleaned. Get 1 room free plus $50 off an air duct cleaning. Maybe you're having a barbecue for the 4th of July. We'll also have Aquatennial coming up in Minneapolis later this month. You want to make sure your home is fresh and clean for your friends and family coming over to celebrate. If your carpet's looking more like a snowbank in late March, muddy, crunchy, and kind of mysterious, it's time to call Zero Res, don't you know? These folks come in with their fancy schmancy ZR water. It's like regular water, but with a master's degree in cleanliness. Zero Res can handle it all. Carpets, tiles, rugs, upholstery, air ducts, basically every surface in your home can be Zero Resified. So it's time to call the cleaning pros at Zero Res today. Schedule your appointment at ZeroResMinnesota.com or call 952-ZERO-RES and ask for the AM 950 special. Back order forward spells the same. Zero Res.
This is Mitch, owner of Junk Masters. Feeling overwhelmed by clutter? Spring's the perfect time to reclaim your space and peace of mind. Renting a dumpster is costly, and it all ends up in the landfill. Just show us what goes. We give usable items a second life by donating them. No calling all over town trying to figure out who takes what. We do the legwork for you. Easy, cost-effective, and local. There's no obligation. Visit junkmastersmn.com today.
Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces is having its annual store-wide sale. For the entire month of July, all of our indoor and outdoor fireplace products and accessories are at their lowest price of the year. At Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces, we display, explain, and install the Twin Cities' most diverse selection of indoor and outdoor stoves and fireplaces, including metal and masonry pizza ovens.
While shopping for a fireplace insert at Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces, I was amazed at all the choices. Not just gas, electric, or wood burning, but also built-in or freestanding, and options in every style from antique to modern. The staff listened to us, explained the options, and helped us choose a fireplace we love. Now it warms our hearts and our home every winter. Thank you, Woodland Stoves, for a great addition.
Come see us. We have over 35 working displays in our store, which is just off I-94 at the corner of Riverside and East Franklin Avenue in Minneapolis. Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces, since 1977, out of the ordinary products and services to make fire work for you.
Boldly challenging ableism is here to go where some people won't. I'm Katrina Simons, and every week I'm digging into the real impact of ableism, breaking down myths, calling out barriers, and pushing for a world where disabled people belong in every space. With my work at the University of Minnesota's Institute on Community Integration and a lifetime of lived experience, I'm diving into everything from employment and housing to justice and culture. And yeah, I bring some humor and heart along the way. Catch us Sundays at 2 p.m. right here on AM 950, or listen anytime by finding Boldly Challenging Ableism on YouTube or your favorite podcast app.
With a look at your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Tonight, clear with a low of 65, then Wednesday, sunshine with a high of 83. Cafe Latte is unlike any restaurant you've ever experienced. Grab a tray and pick from their award-winning selections of soups, salads, sandwiches, and mouth-watering desserts. Cafe Latte, Victoria Street and Grand Avenue in St. Paul, or cafelatte.com.
You're listening to AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
Oh, this is Dallas Goldtooth, and you're listening to the Native Roots Radio. Hoka, hicha, wecha.
Welcome back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is supported by Native American Community Development Institute, or NACD, in Minneapolis.
Hey, we love that group, and they support so many people, and we just love NACD. And we have Robert Lilligren on Thursday, the CEO of Native American Community Development, on every Thursday. So looking forward to that. Hey, we're here with Arvina Martin, and she's CEO of Emerge Wisconsin, and we're talking a few things. Arvina, welcome back. And could you remind me how this was gone down here in this last year or so?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I don't know if I can start there. I mean, we're going back decades that, the first round of gerrymandering happened in 2011 and produced a state legislative map that was considered the most gerrymandered state legislative map in the country. And people really it took a lot of activism and a lot of work from groups like Law Forward, Fair Maps Wisconsin, the Attorney General, Josh Kaul, once he was elected, there were a lot of claims, about why the state legislative maps were unconstitutional. There were things related to the partisan gerrymandering. There was one claim about non-contiguity. So if you can't have islands that are separated and not touching, to be part of the same legislative district, etc. But last year, part of it happened because of the change of the makeup of the state Supreme Court. When the majority was held by conservatives, they were like, nah, that's okay. But in once 2024 rolled around and we had the progressive side has taken majority of the state Supreme Court, they were able to take a look at this and actually apply the Constitution to the maps. It was ruled that those state legislative maps needed to be changed, and that the fall 2024 elections needed to be held using new maps, that the extremely gerrymandered districts were not to go to election. So that was a fun time, because the decision happened and what the maps were going to look like weren't actually solidified until kind of late, and into what we call the signature period, the time period where candidates have to go and collect nomination signatures in order to get their name on the ballot. And so, it was very hectic, and it was hard for people who wanted to run to know if they were, what district they may be in. If they used one proposed map, they might be in District A, but proposed map B, 2, they would be in District B. And so, it didn't leave a lot of time, but the changes were massive. I'm blanking on the total number, but Democrats picked up, double digits number of seats in the state assembly. We have 99 seats in the state assembly. And before, we were very close to having a veto-proof Republican majority. And so, that definitely helped Democrats take away that kind of veto-proof majority, as well as picking up a couple of seats in the Senate. And our state Senate is such that senators are elected every 4 years, but they're staggered. So if you are in an even Senate district, you run during, I can't remember which it is, but either presidential election years or gubernatorial midterm election years. And then the odd number district senators are, their elections are in the other. So we have half of our state Senate that needs to be that has not yet come up for election under these new maps. I think Democrats have a really strong chance of taking a trifecta, taking the majority in both houses of legislature, as well as hanging on to the state Supreme Court, as well as the governorship, which would be incredible, and we can stop a lot of this bleeding. Wisconsin still has not accepted that federal Medicaid money because the Republican legislature won't allow us to. And we have people like Derek Van Orden trying to take away more money from Medicaid, and then saying, well, Governor Evers, you need to allocate more money to this, like it wasn't a problem that he himself created. So the ramifications of gerrymandering they're real, and we are going to find districts that are a lot more moderate, and that it's not, even if Republicans win a lot of these seats, the chances of them being really extreme is less, because they know that to win and to represent that district, they're going to have to be more moderate. They're going to have to appeal to more than just that right-wing base.
Arvina, it's interesting. Two things. I can say Protasewicz, and that took me a long time. She was a guest and ran for the Supreme Court on Native Roots Radio. So, as you probably know, I have, I guess I can say this. I have trouble reading. But Protasewicz was on the show, and I'm so happy that I can still say that, her name. And but also, when I was young, Wisconsin was a Democratic state. It blows my mind.
If you go back to like 10 years, or more even, Wisconsin and Minnesota were almost twinsies, and had a lot of this, statistics were similar. And since we've had this kind of Republican takeover and then the gerrymandering to protect that takeover, Wisconsin has fallen in a lot of categories that are really important to the well-being of our state citizens and the folks that live here. Education, health, you name it. And we have a lot, we as progressives, as Democrats, are running to correct that and to get us back into that strong progressive history that we have. The home of Fighting Bob LaFollette, a progressive hero, and it's just it's a lot of work, and there is so much damage that has been done over the last decade or two that once Democrats do have more power, there's going to be a lot of cleanup and cleaning up after Republicans.
Oh my God, you are not kidding. It's interesting too. I was thinking as you were talking too, Texas was a Democratic state when I was young too. And I remember there was a governor there. I can't remember her name, but I remember her saying, poor George Bush, he was born on third base and thought he hit a triple. And I'll never forget that. Ann Richards, I guess.
Yes, I was going to say Ann Richards, and beloved. She was beloved by Texans. And her daughter, Cecile Richards, was the president and leader of Planned Parenthood for many years.
Wow.
Yeah. So, I happened to look up, I was looking up things about Texas because of the terrible flooding. And the last time Texas went blue in a presidential election was in '76 for Jimmy Carter. I mean,
wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So I guess I'm old because I didn't think it was that long ago.
It was a while. But Ann Richards was governor while, I remember when she was governor, and to me that it just seems so out of place that there would be somebody like a Democratic leader in Texas that was so popular. It just seems out of place for what I know of Texas now. So.
Well, it's interesting too. You brought up Texas, and I don't want to get too deep in this, but I do believe these cuts had a lot to do with a lot of these deaths. And I know when it comes to Republicans talking about things like this that they created, they always say that, we shouldn't talk about this right now because it just happened. You're politicizing these deaths. And it's like, Arvina, when do you talk about it?
I mean, we just have to get over that, honestly, and say, no, we are talking about this now because we are thinking about it now. And the other side does it too. I mean, Marjorie Taylor Greene put out some bogus legislation because she says that Democrats messed with the weather or something and made, did it deliberately. And that doesn't happen. But, the cuts to FEMA are very likely to affect the response of folks, or to this disaster in Texas. And I want to also shout out, we have an Emerge Texas as well. And I want to shout out the great work that they do, trying to fight against that kind of Greg Abbott, Ted Cruz machine that is happening down there. So they're doing the same work that I do in Wisconsin, they're doing in Texas.
Yeah, I think Ted Cruz is still on vacation. He did not come back and see.
He's in Italy.
People. Yeah, exactly. Hey, this is Native Roots Radio, and we're with Arvina Martin and Jalisa McKee, and I'm Robert Pilot, and we'll be right back after this short break.
Stay with us.
The city of Minneapolis is now on Native Roots Radio with Minneapolis AIR. AIR stands for American Indian Relations. Guest host Christine McDonald talks to people about important things affecting the city's Native communities. Minneapolis Air dives into topics like public safety, public health, elections, and so much more. Tune in to Minneapolis Air on Native Roots Radio from 5 to 6 p.m. on the second Wednesday of every month, right here on AM 950.
Your heart beats for generations.
Your heart is so many things. It beats all the time, and it works very hard to keep you moving through your day, keeping your thoughts clear. It's the most important organ in your body.
Every beat of your heart tells a story of love, resilience, and hope. Taking care of your heart means creating more moments with the ones you cherish. Learn more at hennepin.us/heart-beats. That's hennepin.us/heart-beats.
Rudy Luther Toyota is the dealer you can trust. Go to rudyluthertoyota.com to browse their inventory of new and certified pre-owned vehicles. Style, performance, and reliability. You can find it all at Rudy Luther. With every new and certified pre-owned vehicle, you'll get a Luther Advantage card, save 10 cents per gallon at the pump, and get $6 Works car washes at holiday station stores. That's right. You can get a great vehicle and help stretch your budget even further. Rudy Luther Toyota, the southeast corner of 394 and 169 in Golden Valley.
Four Sisters Farmers Market is more than a place to shop for delicious organic food. It's a celebration of Indigenous culture, food sovereignty, and community. Now in its 11th season, the market offers healthy, affordable, culturally appropriate local foods every Thursday from 11 to 3. Located on the American Indian Cultural Corridor off Franklin Avenue, Four Sisters Farmers Market is a project of NACD. Every Thursday now through October, discover more about Four Sisters Farmers Market by visiting nacd.org.
I'm Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan, and you are listening to Native Roots Radio.
Welcome back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
Hey, this portion of the show, we'd like to bring awareness to our Minnesota wolf population. Say no to the hunts. Oh!
Yeah, and we also want to say no to the hunts in Wisconsin too, Jalisa. Geez, it was a bloodbath the last time they did that, and I know there was a 250 limit or something like that, and it was supposed to be 2 weeks long, and they got their limit within 48 hours, and so we just pray for our relatives with tails and hooves and things like that.
Four-legged relatives.
Exactly. Well, fish are our relatives too, and they have no legs.
They have tails?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Good one. Hey, before we get back to Arvina Martin, I want to get a little update on what's going on with Jalisa, and I know New Native Theater, which you've been a big part of these last few years as an actor, and so proud, Papa here, Jaji here. So go ahead, Jalisa.
Yeah, I just wanted to share with our listeners. I am honored to speak to you about New Native Theater. I studied theater in undergrad, and so I have a degree in theater, but it wasn't until I started working with New Native Theater that I was able to do it at a professional level. And they have just really grown into just a beautiful, beautiful place to be a Native person and also an artist, specifically for me, an actor. So they're holding auditions right now. So I wanted to give them a specific shout out. Go to newnativetheater.org if you want to get more information, or visit their New Native Theater Facebook, or I would suggest their Instagram. So, but they're holding auditions, and it's just such a really neat thing because they showcase Native writers as well. So the plays that I've done for New Native Theater have been local, and actually somebody from Toronto to Native American writers. So really cool to put these things on and then just be a part of the community, and then have that overlap with also be around such great artists. And shout out to Rihanna Yazzie for founding the company back in 2008, and just the growth that it's happened. I just had a meeting with them yesterday, and I just love the staff and, everybody there at New Native Theater. Rihanna was there. Rihanna's a very busy artist in her own career on top of founding and running New Native Theater. She's very successful in Hollywood and is all over the world, really doing a lot of different things, specifically in the arts. So shout out to her.
Yeah, last time we had Arvina on, she had written her second episode of Dark Winds, and
sure.
we really love that. And Jalisa, I know you have a couple of questions to Arvina. If you want to ask her, Grill Arvina. That's the grill. We can call it a new segment.
Well, I'm glad that you gave me an opportunity to speak on New Native Theater, because again, it's really empowering for me to be around other Native women that are really just really diving into their passions and what Creator has given them, and that really translates to you, Arvina, and your work. I know. I think sometimes it can be very intimidating for us to seek our passions, and so I was just sort of curious on when maybe that moment kind of sparked where you're like, no, I'm going to go for it. I mean, I'm sure it was like a long journey as well, but I've been encouraged to start writing lately, and my Jaji here, our host, was a big influence and has made me feel really great and inspired. But it's just so interesting because sometimes we do hold back, and I wonder why. And I just wonder more about your journey and the wonderful things that you do for our community.
I always, when I went to school, I always knew that I was going to, use my education and experiences to help the community that supported me growing up. And that my community was so integral to my educational experience, going through the title, I think now it's Title 7. I'm not sure what the number is these days. But I got a lot of support. I was helped with tutoring, particularly math. One of my math tutors was Wildberries chef Elena Terry, which was cool. But I always knew that I was going to do something to help my community. And it wasn't, I worked in the state assembly in the sergeant at arms office. And like, when I was first starting my career, I thought of it more as like finding, something to pay the bills while I figure out exactly what that was going to be. At the time I was like, oh, I'll go to law school. But that did not happen. And, after I had my daughter and got a divorce, I was very much like, I need to, figure out what it is I'm doing. And it's got to, I wanted it to be something I liked. So I actually started with an internship with the Democratic Party of Wisconsin as a communications intern. So I was, I did things like write sample letters to the editor. I did opposition research, and like kind of kept track of certain legislators that were in, especially those that were in more seats that were more like closer, so not the super hyper Republican ones as much. And then the Act 10 protests started happening, and the Recall Walker movement started, and I was asked if I would be the Native outreach person to get word about the recall, to get signatures, to get buy-in from Native communities. And I before that, before I had my daughter, I was working in the Office of Admissions at UW-Madison as the Native recruiter. So and because I grew up here, I have connections with different communities. My parents were both fairly, were known in tribal communities. So if I would show up, they'd be like, who are you? And I'd be like, I'm Buck and Karen's daughter. And they'd be like, oh, okay. And that, I had a certain amount of credibility. Although it's funny because my dad was a Republican before he passed and before all of this craziness happened. And I remember he worked for Tommy Thompson during the spearfishing crisis during the 80s. And so I remember going to certain communities, particularly some of the Ojibwe communities, and they'd be like, you're Buck Martin's daughter and you're a Democrat? I'm like, yep. So it was kind of a little jumping off point. And it was, it was stuff that I would have volunteered to do anyways. So it was really, I'm really lucky that I get to do stuff that I really love to do, and stuff that is actually helpful to our community, and stuff that is empowering. And I would even say that the work that you do is related. I mean, persisting and resisting takes so many forms. Art is absolutely one of those forms of resistance, and telling our stories in a way that is uniquely ours is so important, and gets in and it inspires more Native people to follow their passions, but also shows other folks that are not Native kind of who we are and as contemporary human beings, and that work is profound. So I would absolutely say that working in the arts and in theater, telling stories is absolutely part of this resistance work that we all do.
Wow, couldn't agree more.
Wow.
Very admirable. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Jalisa. Great question. Arvina, big peeny gigi. Thank you, you two ladies, for being on the show with me. I appreciate you. Until we see each other again, this has been Native Roots Radio.
See you.
Your heartbeat for generations. Take care of it.
There's a lot that we can do to take care of ourselves. And so I think it's important